and the tefillin have to be inclined slightly towards the body. So that, and this is explaining the inclining it towards the body, so that when he puts his arm downwards, when his arm is in a downwards position, then the tefillin is keneged his leiv, is opposite the heart. And therefore, he's mekayim the pasuk that says these words should be on your heart. These words Shema, which is written in the tefillin, is placed on your heart. We do that by putting the tefillin towards the heart. Hagor, says the Rama, tzorach laniach b'rosh ha'etzem somach lekoivdoi. Aval loy b'chatzi ha'etzem shesomach la'shechi. So the Rama says it should be on the part of the bone which is closer to the elbow, and not on the half of the bone closer to the underarm. Okay? The Mishnah is going to define for us exactly where to put it. Gidlim she'ein lo yad, rak zroya, yoniach b'lo bracha. Someone who hasn't got an arm, he hasn't got a hand, he only has the upper part of the arm, he should put it on without a bracha. He's got the upper bone, he hasn't got the rest of the arm, he should put tefillin on without a bracha. Says the Mishnah verse of Cotton Aleph. Smoil, midichsiv yodcha. Yodcha in the pasuk is written in a very interesting way. Generally, yodcha is written yud dalid and then with a kaf sofik, final kaf. However, here it's written kaf hey. Right, kaf ends kaf hey. It doesn't end with a kaf sofik. It ends with kaf hey, which is an unusual spelling of yodcha. When the Mishnah verse is called an aleph. Pirush yad keho. So we darshan this unusually spelt word yodcha as yad keho. Keho means weaker, the weaker arm. Tahainu hasmoil shitosha v'keho. That's why we put it on the left arm. We're going to learn more about the left arm in a minute. The Mishnah himself says, another reason why we put it on the left arm is because in Shema it says ukshartom, and then the next pasuk says uchsavtom. So we learn that you tie the tefillin in the same arm that you write with. Right? So if you write with your arm, a right arm, you're going to tie it with your right arm, meaning you're going to place it on your left arm. So similarly, since as people write with their right hand, therefore they have to tie with their right hand as well. If you have to tie it with your right arm, therefore it has to be placed on your left arm. If he puts it on the right arm, he's not yoked even b'di eved. We're going to learn more about this very soon, and we'll discuss what a left-handed person does. Right? And we're going to see that there's some differences between the reasons given. Right? We're going to talk about people maybe who write with one arm, even though the other arm is stronger. What should he do? Right?
There's also people who are
ambidextrous,
left-handed.
Yeah.
That were forced to write with the right hand.
Yeah.
But really naturally the left hand.
So we're going to talk about that very soon. We'll talk about it when we get to the Shulchan Aruch. Okay. So we've got in base, this part where the arm is inflated is called in the Lashon Chazal kiboires. This is also ma'akev. If one doesn't put it on the inflated part of the arm, he's not yoked, so it's ma'akev. Not just a din l'chatchila, it's ma'akev. Now the Bir Halacha points out, I don't think he's going to mention it in the Mishnah Berurah. It could be mentioned in the Mishnah Berurah, but let's read it in the Bir Halacha. If he reads it mentions the Mishnah Berurah later, we'll see it again. On the left, in the Bir Halacha, it's about 6 lines from the top. Divrei Maslo b'boser ha'tofuach. On the same page, the Bir Halacha to the left, about 6 lines from the top, it says b'boser ha'tofuach. Yeah? On the same page, on the left column, there's a star.
Yeah.
Whenever there's a new Divrei Maslo, there's a star.
Yeah.
And then there's b'boser ha'tofuach. Right? Even the edge of the tefillin, the final part of the tefillin, mustn't be below the inflated part of the arm. We haven't learned yet about where the placing of the shalosh should be, but also when we learn about the placing of the shalosh, we're even talking about the final edge of the tefillin. The entire tefillin has to be in the correct place, right? Even though the parashas already end before that, right? You might think it's enough that the parashas are in the correct place. Parashas are in the main part of the bias. But even the edge of the tefillin, the entire tefillin have to be in the correct place.
So that could be a problem for a bar mitzvah boy with small arms.
That's right. With the bar mitzvah boy with the small arm, it's going to be even more crucial that he puts it in the right place, because he's got big tefillin relative to his arm. Yeah, it's very true.
Not much inflation.
That's right. That's true as well. That's to get to the gym.
More spinach.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Let's read the Mishnah verse of Cotton Dalet. He doesn't mean put it at the very edge. The Gemara says put it on the part of the bone closer to the elbow, not the part closer to the shoulder, to the underarm. It doesn't mean the very end of the bone. Though it's still low. It's not inflated at the very right next to the elbow. The first part of the arm from above the elbow, before it's raised, before it's inflated, is not the place of tefillin. This is not called kiboyres, and therefore he's not yotze if he places tefillin there. It means the raised part of the arm. The intention of the Ramah is to tell us not to put it on the upper part of the arm. Even though the upper part of the arm also has inflated flesh, even so one should not put it there, one should put it on the lower part of the arm. The Ramah is being mechadash and one should put it on the lower part of the arm, not on the upper part of the arm, even though there the flesh is raised.
This explains your joke about 70 years, right? If he was taught to put it on in a certain place at the time of his bar mitzvah, and continued to put it in that place, it may have turned into the wrong place as he matured.
Could be. True. Could be. Possible. We're going to see machlokes. The opinion of the Shulchan Aruch and the Ramah, both of them hold that it should be on the lower half of the bone, the lower half of the upper arm, right? So it should be only. Everyone agrees it has to be in the place where the bossa is tofawach, where it's raised, where it's inflated. The Ramah and the Mechaber add an extra condition: it should be on the lower part, close to the elbow. Because the Shulchan Aruch also intends to say the same as the Ramah, should be on the lower half. The Vilna Gaon, the Vilna Gaon extends, he wipes out the second condition. The Vilna Gaon says that it can be anywhere on the upper arm, even close to the underarm, as long as it's on the raised part. Everyone agrees it has to be on the raised part of the bone. According to Shulchan Aruch, it should be on the lower half. Okay, therefore it's preferable not to put on tefillin that are too big. כי על פי הרוב מוצא בתפילין גדולים שסוף הקציצה מונחת למטה במקום הקיבוירס. אם לא שיקשם לכתחילה בחצי עצם העליון, וגם זה לא נכון לכתחילה, לא הוקל לכתחילה וזה אחרי דתס המחבר ומה להחמיר בזה. It's preferable not to buy tefillin that are too big. If the tefillin are too big, then it's going to be very difficult to fulfill the conditions of the Shulchan Aruch and the Ramah, to place it on the lower half of the arm, and also the end of the tefillin should be still on the raised part and not too close to the elbow. If he only has big tefillin, and so too the case of the bar mitzvah boy who the tefillin might be not so big, but relative to his arm they are very big tefillin. It's preferable that he ties it on the upper part of the arm, where it's still the bone, the muscle is raised, the flesh is raised. He's raised according to the gra. If it's too low, he's not Yotze Kudin to anyone. Right? If it's too low, if the edge of the tefillin has gone over the part where the flesh is not raised, he's not Yotze Kudin to anyone. So therefore it's preferable to put it too high rather than too low, because according to the Gra, he can put it anywhere on the arm as long as it's on the raised part. If it's too low, it's a bracha levatala, and he's not mekayim mitzvah tefillah. Okay, there's an indication that people give. People say to try to put two fingers in between the end of the tefillin and the elbow. That's a good approximation to find the bosar tofuach. But one can also look and see where the raised part is as well. But it's a good indication.
Can a weightlifter actually create a problem for himself by bulking up his arms too much so you can't really tell what's supposed to be in the nafuach? Sometimes he has these big, enormous arms.
Right.
I don't know if there's two fingers to his elbows, or
if it's raised there, then it's raised there. I don't think it should be a problem.
But it's not all the muscles of the arm; it's the biceps we're talking about.
Right.
So as long as he gets it on the bicep.
He's saying the bicep is going to be so enormous.
Right.
It's going to reach actually to the elbow. The whole upper arm is going to be the biceps deflated.
Right.
I don't think the three of us should work.
It should be okay. I assume it's okay. That means on his arm, that's called the kiboiras.
He's covered.
Okay. Sivkot Hey, She'in lo yad. Right, someone who hasn't got part of his arm is missing. He hasn't got the hand. What should he do? The Ramosha says he puts on tefillin without a bracha. Says the Mishnah Sivkot Hey, She'in lo yad. He hasn't got his the palm of his hand, the left palm is missing, in kol hakone, with the whole bone from the elbow to the palm of his hand. Until the elbow. From the elbow and downwards it's all missing. If part of the lower bone is, what's it called, the lower bone? Do you have a name for it?
Forearm.
Forearm is a good name, rather than go with the scientific name. The forearm. Okay, this part's called the forearm?
Yes.
Okay, so if he has part of the forearm, if part of his forearm is there, then he can even make a bracha on tefillin. So if the entire forearm is missing, he puts on tefillin without a bracha. He puts on tefillin up here without a bracha. If he has part of the forearm, then he can put on tefillin even with a bracha.
Then there'd still be the shiloh of where to wrap. That's a different question. If he only has this much.
So he wraps what he can, and that's it. If he doesn't have a left arm at all, so if he hasn't got a left arm at all, he's potter. The Mishnah says he's potter from putting on tefillin at all, and then he says yesh machmirin bezeh. V'chol zeh shenase gidin b'smol to mokum anochas hatefillin. Avnase gidin b'min afilu nital kol hayad chayv b'tefillin v'akish lachem sheyanichuhu olav. If he hasn't got a left arm, so he hasn't got a right arm, right? So he's got the tefillin. He's got the arm where he's supposed to put on tefillin, but he can't tie the tefillin because he's missing his right arm. So then he's chayv in tefillin. It's just he has to find someone else to put the tefillin on him, right? Because he can't tie it. But he has a left arm. He has the correct place to put on the tefillin, and therefore someone else should tie his tefillin on him.
So the mitzvah is not tying tefillin; it's wearing tefillin.
That's correct. Yes, 100%. Yes. In fact, when I was
the arm that he's got left is the one he's used for writing. So it's, again, you want to put on the weak arm, right?
Yeah.
Just put on the weak arm.
Right.
I'm left-handed. I put my right arm.
Right.
His arm he's got is his strong arm.
Right.
So he's doing on his strong arm.
That's an excellent question. Super question. The Mishnah was going to deal with that in a minute. We're going to get to that. It's an excellent question. The question is, if he's missing his right arm, right, then which is his stronger arm? The left one. In which case, where should he be putting his tefillin? On the right arm, but the right arm's missing. Excellent. And the Mishnah was going to mention that exact point very soon.
And didn't we say earlier that if you're right-handed and you put it on your right hand, you're not Yotze Bichlal?
Correct.
So there wouldn't be an option of, if he was missing his right arm.
No, there's no option of putting it on the other. No, you have to put it on the right one, on the correct one.
If you have one arm, it is both your strongest and your weakest, by definition.
Correct.
Right.
That's why it's
Yeah. So we're going to deal with that. We'll deal with that very soon. Excellent question. But the point you mentioned, just we had a few questions one after the other, that the mitzvah is to have it on your arm rather than tying. The person who can't tie it, someone should tie it for him. It's an excellent point. When I was in school, there was a year when I took turns with some of my classmates. We used to leave school to go and help. There was a disabled man a few doors down from the school who couldn't put on his tefillin himself because his muscles were wasting away. So we used to go around and we used to take turns, one person a day, to tie the tefillin on him. Right? It's his mitzvah. It's not our mitzvah. I'm not getting the mitzvah that I'm tying. It's his mitzvah that he's having the tefillin placed on his arm, tied on his arm. He wouldn't actually need. They sent us because we were chayv in tefillin, but you don't actually need someone who's chayv in tefillin. You could have a woman or a child putting on tefillin for him as well. Most poskim say that because the main mitzvah is that he has tefillin tied on his arm. The mitzvah is not the actual tying, and therefore it doesn't need a bar mitzvah boy. It doesn't need someone who's chayv in tefillin to put the tie on.
When it comes to shofar, we say the bracha is lishmo kol shofar.
Yeah.
Right? So I don't have to blow it. I just have to hear someone else blow it. But here it looks like you actually have to tie it.
Right.
So is this person becoming?
Well, it's a good point, but here actually I saw someone mentioned we do actually see the opposite to what you're saying. That we actually see it in the bracha. That the bracha is not likshor tefillin. La'aniach is to place. The main thing is the placing. It's still the lashon is still to place rather than being placed. But it does change the language and doesn't say to tie tefillin. Okay. Sif base. Haminhag hanochon, back to the Shulchan Aruch Sif base. That's the second line from the top. Haminhag hanochon shehayud shel kesher tefillah shel yad letzad haleiv. The knot of the yud of the knot of the tefillin shel yad should be towards the heart. V'atefillah olav letzad chutz, and the tefillin to the outside. Right. So we have the knot on the tefillin. The knot should be on the side of the heart. The knot is in the shape of a yud. Right? One should be careful that the yud should not move away from the tefillin. Right? It should be tight to the tefillin. Let's see the Mishnah Berurah, different correct and incorrect ways of making it tight to the tefillin. Mishnah Berurah Sif Cotton Zayin. Even though the lashon of the Shulchan Aruch is the correct custom is to make sure that the yud is on the side of the heart, the Gemara says more than that, and it's actually dinner de Gemara. The Gemara says the Vilna Gaon says it's a dinner de Gemara. It's a chiyuv that the yud should be on the side of the heart. It's not just a custom.
So if a left-handed person uses right-handed person's tefillah.
Excellent. What should he do? We're going to learn in a minute. What should he do? Right. Excellent question. Sif Cotton Ches. Sheyeh hayod v'chula. Ein b'bi halacha shekosavnu. Shenochon lizoher shelo yarchiv harbe es kefel kesher ha'niva sharutzu oiveres bo. Kedei shetiye gam mokum hiduk hosioch somach la tefillin letzad halev. Let me demonstrate. I put my tefillin here so I can demonstrate what we're talking about here. When one ties the strap in the first place, which is generally the person giving the tefillin, one should check on one's own tefillin. This ritzuah, right, should be short, as it is here. Why? Because when you tie it on your arm, this is part of the kesher. This part, right? This is how it tightens onto your arm. So the Mishnah Berurah wants not just the yud of the tefillin to be on next to the heart, but also this tied part also to be near the heart. Now, if this is too long, right, then the loop carries on to around here, then the point where this gets tight is going to be already on the other side of the arm. It's not going to be on the side of the heart. The Mishnah Berurah has to be careful to make sure this loop is short, as short as possible, so that the tying part is also on the side of the heart. Right? That's what the Mishnah Berurah said here.
Rabbi Stahl, can I just ask you a general question? There's a mitzvah to where it's good to have tefillin on your arm. How much of what we're learning here, if you don't do, nullifies the mitzvah that you haven't done the mitzvah?
Okay, so the Mishnah Berurah has pointed out a few things already, right? When we're talking about the basar tafuach, he mentioned if you place it too low, it nullifies the mitzvah. If it's not on the inflated part of the arm, it nullifies the mitzvah. If you put it on the wrong arm, you're supposed to put it on the right, you put it on the left, the other way around, it nullifies the mitzvah. We mentioned if you place it too high, that's a machlokes, so it's okay. It doesn't nullify the mitzvah because according to the Vinagon it's fine. Right? Here in terms of the yud being on the correct side, okay, according to the opinion of the Shulchan Aruch, who just writes as a minhag halacha, it's the correct custom that the yud should be on the right side. The yud should be on the side of the heart. So it clearly wouldn't nullify the mitzvah. It's just a minhag.
Would not.
The Mishnah Berurah would not. Yeah. The Mishnah Berurah brought, according to the Gemara, it's a dinner de Gemara. He doesn't clarify if that dinner de Gemara is ma'akev or not, if it nullifies the mitzvah or not. It's not 100% clear. But he's definitely telling you that it's something very, very important that the yud should be on the side of the heart. This last point that the Halacha mentioned, that this loop should be short, so that this is also on the side of the heart, that definitely does not nullify the mitzvah. The lashon of the Mishnah Berurah is nochon lizoher. One should be careful. It's correct to be careful, and therefore it definitely does not nullify the mitzvah. But it's something one should try to make sure. It's an easy thing to change. Just have to take it to someone who knows how to tie the knot, and within 5 minutes you can retie it in a way that the loop is shorter.
The short loop is in the Bir Halacha?
No, this is the Mishnah Berurah reading. Mishnah Berurah. He mentioned that it's in the Bir Halacha, but he's we didn't see the Bir Halacha. In the Mishnah Berurah he wrote Ayin Bir Halacha Shekosavnu, and he summarized what he wrote in the Bir Halacha. So we just read the summary here in the Mishnah Berurah. In the Bir Halacha he goes more into length into this halacha. So if cotton test. Okay. So if cotton test. The losh of the Shulchan Aruch was that the tefillah is olav, is on the yud. The Mishnah Berurah is pointing out it doesn't literally mean the tefillah is sitting on the yud. The yud definitely has to place next to the tefillah, not underneath it. Because he's inclining the tefillin towards the body. Because the tefillin is placed towards the body, therefore the box of the tefillin, the ketzitza, the box is further up, and the yud is towards the ground. Right? Because the tefillin aren't sitting straight; they're lying. No. So if cotton yud, yesh li zoher. Okay, now we're moving on to the second halacha of the Shulchan Aruch. The first halacha we saw was that yud should be on the side of the heart, and we're going to talk in a minute what a left-handed person should do with right-handed tefillin. We'll talk about that soon. Now we're moving on to the next halacha, which is that the yud should always be close to the tefillin. The yud should not move away from the ketzitza, the box of the tefillin. Says the Mishnah Berurah cotton yud. The Bezoyah Parshas Pinchas machmir ma'od b'inyan zeh. The Bezoyah is very much stringent about this halacha. V'yesh machmir degam kshein b'soich kison tzrichin nizor b'zeh. Some say that one should even make sure that when the tefillin are in their pouch, when they're not on him, it should also be that the yud is always against the tefillin. Shelo tozos klal hayud, that the yud should not move at all. Because of this, some people are noheg to use a chut shel gid, a sinew, a string made from the sinew of an animal, in order to tie the yud onto the tefillin. Says the Mishnah Berurah, there. This is a levater there. One should announce this. If one ties the yud to the tefillin with a gid is going to go underneath the ketzitza, and therefore there's going to be a chatitza between the tefillin and his arm. Some people also tie their tzur underneath. When they tie their tefillin, this also goes underneath the ketzitza. That's also incorrect because there's another chatitza between the tefillin and his arm. Okay? Let's go back to this idea of the yud being against the tefillin. Right? The yud has to be against the tefillin. It shouldn't be separated from the tefillin at all. We shouldn't move the yud away to the tefillin. So how do we make sure that happens, that it doesn't move away? Right?
So you have something holding.
Right, that's correct. So there's two main ways people do it. To put a gid underneath the tefillin is a chatitza between the tefillin and the arm. That the Mishnah says not to do. What most people do is they have a gid which goes through the tefillin here, right, and comes out the other side, and that ties that on. Then it's not a chatitza because it doesn't go underneath the tefillin. That's one good way of holding it. Another way I've seen is that the reason why it moves is because the ritzur is going through the tefillin, and it's not tight. Right? Obviously, in order to put the ritzur through, one would have to make the hole wide enough to be able to push it through. By definition, therefore, it's not going to be tight on the ritzur. It's not going to hold the ritzur. So what they do is, after they put in the ritzur and they've tied it, they then stuff small little pieces of ritzur, of strap, small cut pieces of strap into the tefillin, in a way that, into the hole on this side or on this side, in a way that it wedges it in. Exactly, that's the idea. Those are the two ways I've seen.